Friedrich Nietzsche, Clarice Lispector, and Antonin Artaud each confronted a fundamental problem: the limits of language in capturing experience. Though they worked in different genres, their projects converge around a shared insight that thought is inseparable from the body, that rationality is not the default mode of consciousness, and that the self is far less stable than it appears. Today, these ideas are echoed in cognitive science, neuroscience, and philosophy of the mind. From embodied cognition to predictive processing, many contemporary theories confirm what these writers explore through literature: that consciousness is not abstract or disembodied, but deeply tied to affect, sensation, and breakdown. Today, we're looking at how Nietzsche, Lispector, and Artaud challenge conventions of reason and language, and how their work remains relevant to current debates about the mind, emotion, and the structure of the self. Nietzsche is often remembered for proclaiming the death of God, but more profoundly, the death of the rational subject. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he writes, "Behind your thoughts and feelings, there stands a mighty ruler, an unknown sage, your body." Nietzsche dissolves the concept of a fixed identity. He sees the self as becoming instead of being. Like modern and activist thinkers, Nietzsche understands consciousness as embodied, emerging from lived experience instead of abstract logic. He writes in fragments, contradictions, masks, a literary structure that mimics the instability of thought itself. And in his late madness, he was signing letters as Dionysus or the Crucified, not abandoning reason, but exposing its limit. Clarice Lispector's prose feels like thought being born. She doesn't tell stories, but feel them. In The Passion According to G.H., she writes, Lispector captures what cognitive science call non-conceptual content, the raw, pre-verbal sensations and feelings that precede structured thought. Philosopher Thomas Metzinger describes the phenomenal self model as the illusion of a stable I created by the brain. Lispector's narrators constantly confront this illusion, experiencing reality as pure presence, where language stutters and dissolves. She writes from the threshold where cognition collapses into sensation. Antonin Artaud approached language and performance not as tools of communication, but rather as means of disruption. His theater of cruelty was designed to bypass rational understanding and speak directly to the body, to the nervous system. Theater, he wrote, to recover its necessity, must give us everything that is in crime, love, war, or madness. He also wrote elsewhere, "There where it smells of shit, it smells of being." These provocations weren't just metaphorical. Artaud saw language as already corrupted by social and religious conventions. He wanted to get beneath it to a more primal register of expression. In many ways, Artaud anticipated what some strands of cognitive science now describe. Neuroscientist Jack Panksepp argues that core affective systems like fear, lust, and anger are hardwired into the mammalian brain. These are not mediated by language or symbolic thought. They emerge directly from subcortical structures. Similarly, psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett suggests that emotions are not reactions, but predictions. The brain interprets bodily signals and constructs emotional states accordingly.
Emotions are guesses. They are guesses that your brain constructs in the moment where billions of brain cells are working together. Right now, your brain is working like crazy. Your neurons are firing like mad, trying to make meaning out of this so that you see something other than black and white blobs. Your brain is sifting through a lifetime of experience, making thousands of guesses at the same time, weighing the probabilities, trying to answer the question, what is this most like? Not what is it, but what is this most like in my past experience? And this is all happening in the blink of an eye. Now, if your brain is still struggling to find a good match and you still see black and white blobs, then you are in a state called experiential blindness. All right. So now, many of you see a snake. And why is that? Because as your brain is sifting through your past experience, there's new knowledge there, the knowledge that came from the photograph. And what's really cool is that that knowledge, which you just acquired moments ago, is changing how you experience these blobs right now. So your brain is constructing the image of a snake where there is no snake. And this kind of a hallucination is what neuroscientists like me call predictions. Predictions are basically the way your brain works. It's business as usual for your brain. Predictions are the basis of every experience that you have. They are the basis of every action that you take. In fact, predictions are what allow you to understand the words that I'm speaking as they come out of my mouth. Exactly. Predictions are primal, right? They help us to make sense of the world in a quick and efficient way. So, your brain does not react to the world. Using past experience, your brain predicts and constructs your experience of the world.
For Artaud, this gap between sensation and interpretation was precisely where meaning broke down, and true expression could begin. Rather than trying to make experience legible, Artaud wanted to expose the instability of meaning itself. He used gesture, sound, and raw physicality to challenge the idea that language could ever fully represent the real. His work shows us that the mind is not separate from the body, and that cognition, especially in states of trauma, illness, or intensity, often begins not with words, but with sensation. All three writers, across time and language, reach the same insight, that the self is not solid, that reason is not the highest form of truth, and that language is all three: jury, judge, and executioner.
This is a system invented by rich, white, Christian, heterosexual businessmen. And if you don't match that description, then it is my job to subjugate and oppress you, motherfucker! For I am your judge, jury, and executioner!
And modern cognitive sciences confirm this. Each thinker weaves a world where these scientific truths are lived, not merely stated. Nietzsche philosophizes with a hammer. Lispector listens to silence. Artaud tears the tongue from the mouth, meaning that they deconstruct the cognitive architecture that culture imposes. Why does this matter? Because we live in an age obsessed with coherence, obsessed with personal brands, obsessed with linguistic precision, data-driven selves. But underneath it all, we're still flesh, synapses with mortal uncertainty. We're not rational machines. We're trembling bodies with dreams we can't explain. These three thinkers show us that madness is not the opposite of reason. They open up a space where the self disappears and something else begins.